We're live.
Welcome to It's Called Life. I tell you, it's a very exciting time. There's no exceptions, no exemption from life. Life come at you. It has its challenges. It's called life. Jesus said in this world you will have tribulation. So tribulation's gonna come, trials gonna come. That's part of life. Things are going to happen. It's not always going to happen the way you would look for it to happen, but things change. But it's called life. And Jesus said we overcome. We overcome by our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. So I'm telling you, I am excited about this night. This is the last show tonight of this season, 2022, and we're going to change the format a little bit in 2023. It's going to be better, more exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm looking forward to the night. I have a dear friend of Pastor Dollar, a dear friend of mine, Pastor Gary Taylor. I'm telling you, we're looking for an exciting time tonight. We will be discussing the effects of not being raised by your father, and what a great guest to have to talk about this subject. So, Pastor Gary Taylor.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Well, let me just start with, I remember meeting you when we was young. We both had hair. And I remember meeting you at a revival, and you was with your pastor, and you was playing the drums. And we met, and I don't know whether we exchanged numbers then or what, but then maybe a year, 2 years later, I goes to Berean bookstore, and I got to talking to this young lady. And this young lady told me who she was married to. And then she kept talking, and I put it together. And maybe at that time I got your number, and we became friends and been friends ever since. And I can't even remember what year it was, but it was a godly connection anyway. And I would like for you to, I don't want to assume that everybody know who you are. I want you to introduce yourself, and man, we're going to get in this broadcast. So take your time, introduce yourself, and let's have at it.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Gary Taylor. Open Word Christian Ministries is my ministry. I'm actually from New Haven, Connecticut. And as Bishop said earlier, yes, I have been knowing him for a very, very long time. It's been good fellowship. At times we've done so many things together over these years, and it's good to be on the show today to talk about this very, very important area as it relates to father, leading like a father, and the importance of having a father is vitally, vitally important, especially in the times that we're living in now.
Yeah, well, you pastor church, you in ministry. What are you doing in ministry?
Yes, I'm pastoring Open Word Christian Ministries. Thank God for the people here. They've been gracious. They've come back.
Oh,
that's a wonderful thing. And so I'm happy about that. And we're just doing what we are called to do. We're talking about the mission of God, to go in God, grow in God, and go in God, to know God, grow in God, and go in God. And that's been our mission in this shift that we're in right now. And also, not only am I pastoring, but I'm also a life coach as well, certified life coach. And I minister from another perspective as it relates to life from a higher perspective. So it's still ministry from one aspect of a game to the other, but I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Amen. Amen. And that's something to be in ministry as long as you've been in ministry and still enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because so many people have dropped out. Some like 30,000 pastors is dropping out of ministry every week. So that says a lot about the longevity in ministry and the success you have in ministry. Man, I've always admired you, always respected you for what you was able to do in ministry. My late wife used to say, Gary, the one-man show Taylor, can preach, sing, dance, whatever you want. And I know you're good with youth. And that's one of the reasons I want to have you on today, because a lot of youth today are not being raised by a two-parent household and not being raised by their fathers. So I want to ask you, is it important to be raised by your biological father, or just have a father figure that raised you?
I believe it's very important to have your biological father, but sometimes life happens and it causes a shift in a relationship. And so having a father figure is vitally important, because having a father figure, definitely, whether it be a biological father or a father in man's life. And so it is very, very important that he has that, because in this day and time, it's hard to define the lines. They're blurred at this time.
Yeah,
Society is telling us a lot of different things, but we have to go from a biblical perspective of what was God intent when he created the father, when he
yes,
created the supplanter, when he created the guy that does the nourishing and the source and the protector and all of those wonderful things. But if a man doesn't know that, then it's going to be hard for him to be a leader as a father. So it's vitally important that the first thing is they have to have a relationship with God. That's the key, the God kind of father.
yes. Well, let me ask you a personal question.
Sure.
How did it affect you personally by not being raised by your father?
Well, it was a challenge, but to God be the glory and the grace that I experienced. The fact that my grandfather was there. And even though my father, my biological father, was not around, because as I said earlier, life happens, because he wasn't around, my grandfather was there. He worked for Farrell's in Ansonia, Connecticut, in the factory. And he was my hero, a deacon of the church. And I love that man to life. And unfortunately, he died before I could really appreciate him like I wanted to. But he was very, very instrumental in my forming as a young man. And so if your father and grandfather definitely can be of great assistance to you.
Okay, but how did it affect you personally? I know that I have a very dear friend of mine that was his father passed when he was 2 years old. And he said, even though his father passed, therefore he couldn't be in the household. But he said he had problems developing lasting and relationships, loving, trusting people. There were some insecurities that come about by not being raised by his father. And I just want you to expound on that a little.
Not having my father there did cause a lot of things in my life, anxiety. Even though my grandfather was there, he died at a young age for me. But yes, I did experience anxiety. I did experience trying to figure out who I was, in this life. And that caused a lot of different things to happen to me. Wondering where he is, wondering why he left. Was it my fault? What did I do? So many things, low self-esteem issues as well.
Yeah.
Part of that thing that happened for me. And it took a lot of years to be able to get out of that fog, if you please. It definitely not the favor of God, Bishop. Remember that. But getting out of the fog of low self-esteem and not knowing who I was, and it caused a lot of different challenges. So it impacted me in a very negative way,
right,
by not having him there.
Right. Well, we're gonna get to the positive part out because I've seen you and observed you as a father, and I must say that I admire the way you raise your kids, and because I've been, we've been in each other's home, each other's life, so we know the success you've had, and I really respect you for the way that you spent time molding the life and help framing the life of your children. How was it in school from day to day, going to school and maybe seeing other kids with parents come to the ball games or whatever, choir practices or music lesson? Or how was it?
Well, with my father not being there, it was challenging because a lot of times I would look out into the stands. I played baseball. I attempted to play football. I notice I said attempt to play football.
Understood.
When I played basketball, which was my favorite sport, yes, it was challenging at times not to see him. Because when I played baseball, he was a baseball man. Yeah. And so when I would look out in the stands and see him, that it was a bittersweet thing because I want to see my dad, but to see my grandfather there, it was definitely, it helped a lot. But there were times when I had some special moments growing up, recitals, things of this nature, whether I was speaking or whether I was acting in a particular play, that he was not there. And it did cause some discomfort emotionally for me. But you know, you learn to move on,
Yeah. Okay.
which
Okay.
is not easy, but you have to learn how to move on.
Yeah. I know that a lot of young men that was raised by their mothers, they seem to be more effeminate, and I know that in this society, the homosexual community and guys have. I know some people that say, young men that say that they went over to homosexuality because they was raised by their mother and they was affected by that. And not only that, because they had effeminate ways, not being gay, but have effeminate ways, that the name calling and all of this took place, and it helped frame their life. Could you comment on that?
Mhm. Well, that can happen with some men. And, when I was growing up, I did see that happen as well, that boys that were raised under their mother, how they had a lot of different challenges as it related to their identity as they begin to get older, because they had that type of relationship with their mother and their father was not there. And so, yes, I did see those challenges growing up in young men that were definitely in that position with their moms where their dad was not there, or a strong man. Okay.
Right,
A
right.
strong man. I'm not saying brutal, but I'm saying a strong, confident man
Yes,
that was a leader. I did see the results of that. But on the flip side, I did see the results of uh, young men being raised by their moms, and they came out fine. They were reared in such a way that they were like, no, I'm going to do what I need to do. So it was a challenge on both sides. But yes, I do see how the effects of not having male bonding and leadership can affect a young man. It can.
yeah, yeah. What you think is more destructive, having an absent father in the house or having an absentee father out of the house?
I believe oxymoron. I believe both of them affect the
Yeah,
child, whether he is there but always working and you don't have a chance to see him, you don't have a chance to have a relationship with him, or he's not there at all. The bottom line, he's not there. And so if he is not there, it does speak to a lot of challenges that a young man, and even, might I add, not just a boy, but a young lady as well. Girls
yes,
can be definitely impacted by their dads not being there. So whether they're absentee or whether they're just working a lot, the bottom line is it's vitally important that they're there and have that time with their children. They got to do it.
yes, yes. I remind fathers how they treat their wives, how they be affectionate toward them. I said, whether they're mean to them or whether they're violent. I said, because so your daughter is going to marry somebody like her father. She's looking for a father.
Potentially that
And
can
she,
happen. Potentially
yeah,
that can happen. So, that experience that they have. That's why I believe that what we're dealing with in society is not just a fatherless issue. I
right.
believe it is a decaying of the family, period. And I
Good.
believe it's as a result of the perspective of God being erased from the mindset of man. And so when you erase God's perspective and God's ruling and God's design for a thing,
Right.
if you don't understand the purpose, you will definitely abuse it. So
Right.
when people don't understand the purpose of family, the purpose of mom, the purpose of dad, the purpose of the relationship with parents and children, it's definitely going to cause some major, major problems. But yes, having that man there that understands his place as a man of God, because as a father, that's what God created you to do, is to be a leader and a sustainer and a supporter.
Right. Because I know the farther you get away from God plan for anything, but we're talking about the family tonight. The farther you get away from God's plan is the decaying. It will decay, and keep decaying. Look, I know that I don't care how great a father you would be, and that was not a wife in the household. That's only a certain amount of characteristics that you possess that a woman don't possess. And it's important. And I don't care how great your mother might be. She might be the greatest mother on earth, but there's some things she can't give you that a father would deposit in you, and the mother deposit her part and her characteristics and what God built her to do. That's why it's important, because you make the child whole, and that was God's intention. So what are 2 or 3 things that you think that a father how he should raise his kid or demonstrate before his kids?
Number 1, wisdom, the ability to judge correctly and to follow the best course of action based on knowledge and understanding. Number 2 is love, because everything is centered around that love.
Yes.
And then, of course, patience is vital, because as a father, there are going to be times that challenges will present itself.
Well.
And you're going to have to be patient, and you're going to have to use the wisdom that God has given you. And if you don't have it, you ask. And then, of course, you're going to have that love that surpasses all understanding, because that child is going to need to know when they mess up, when they tear up the car, when they do something that's totally out of character or something totally against what you've trained them and taught them, you're going to have to display that love that's patient.
You sound like you have some experience with that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And how?
Yeah. I know one of the things that helped me growing up by having, because I was surrounded by so many preachers. I had like my father, I had uncles, I had older cousins, probably about 18 preachers in our family. So I was always around strong men and opinionated men as well. But one of the things that my father did for us was the security. I think that you wrapped it up in the love and the wisdom and all that, but knowing that that was somebody that had my back, that I could count on, I could depend on. And that's one of the things. It was like a safety net. And that's one of the things I could depend on. And that's one of the things that he deposited in to my life. And I just think that what society is today, what the effect do you think that not having a father in the household, what do you think it affects society today?
Say that again, Bishop.
How do you think that not having the father in a home is affecting society today?
One, I believe it in different ways, because there's a lot of identity that comes along with the whole father thing. You know, the father is the progenitor. He is the founder. He is the teacher. He is the author. You know, he is a creator of so many things. And when that person isn't in place, it makes it difficult, very difficult and very challenging for that child, whether it's the boy or the girl, to really understand how to navigate through life when life becomes challenging and they don't know what to do. And that's why it's vitally important that the father is there, even if he's not physically there, because life shows up and there may be a divorce and there may be a separation, and that father cannot be there. It's essential for that man to still hang on to that relationship with his children, because the court shouldn't have to make you take care of your children.
Right.
You've been called to do, and that is your responsibility. Because remember, without you, they wouldn't be here. Now, I know they talk about mama. And without mama, I wouldn't be here. But you know what? Mama did not give the seed.
Right, that's right.
Man gave the seed. Mama received the seed. Mama cultivated the seed and gave it back to man in a different form. Yeah. But it didn't stop the man's responsibility for being a teacher and a leader. So it's vitally important that that man is always a leader and a teacher and a supporter for his children, because I believe the judgment of God is going to definitely get on those men that did not take care of their children. That's why you don't need to do fruit inspecting and sharing your seed all over the place, because you have a responsibility to take care of those children. And the reason why a lot of children are finding themselves in very, very intense negative situations is because the leader,
Yeah.
the supporter, the progenitor, the founder, the nourisher, the source, the teacher, the creator wasn't in the house.
Yeah. And we definitely need that. All of us needed that when we was growing up. For the kids that didn't have the benefit of being raised by their father, how can they overcome the psychological effect that it have, the negative effect that it has?
There are two ways that that's going to help, and that's a way that I had to go through to deal with my challenges. Number one, that is counseling. Having the right counselor. Now, when I say counselor, I mean somebody that knows what they're talking about. I believe somebody that has some degrees on the wall,
right?
That knows how to take you through the process of being able to navigate through all of those emotions and all those bad experiences and things that child has experienced growing up without their father, whether it's the girl or the boy. So the first thing I would say is a professional, fearing God, loving. Number two, exposing yourself to father-like individuals that will help sow back into you and sow good seed where at one time there were weeds. Yes. So I believe it's vitally important that they get around men. It may be a coach for you. It may be your professor. It may be an uncle. It may be your grandfather. It may be another man in your life. It may be, your friend's father that may come in. I'm a father to a lot of my children's friends, because of course, Kenny, they'll bring them to the house in a minute.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And then now they start calling you dad.
Right.
So thank God that you're in the position where you can give love and support and forgiveness and patience and wisdom to them, because outside of you, my God, where would they be?
They may not always act like that you've imparted the wisdom, the leading, the molding of their life, the leader, and all of those. It may not seem like it, but they listen. They be listening, because that's why they bring the kids to the house, because they be listening. Because either like my youngest son, Matt very well, yeah. Chico too, but know Matt very well. Matt always, and he hasn't stopped to this day. He's about 38. I think he's 38, 39. We're not good with numbers. But isn't that amazing? Because you knew him when he was a baby. So, but he is still bringing folks around. He said, "Man, come on, talk to my dad. He'll tell you right." And they have absentee father at that house. So all of them like you say, "Hey, Pops, what's going on?" I can see them in the marketplace at Kroger or wherever, shopping or whatever, just out and about or walking trail or whatever. He say, "Hey, Pops, I thought that was you." And so not only that I'm fathering Matt, I'm fathering a lot of those. And some of them, they come over and stay. That when they used to come over and stay and everything. So you get a chance to impart in other leaders in their lives and help them out. I tell you, Gary, just talk about how did you go about raising your kids? How did you go about imparting in your kids?
Imparting to my children or their friends?
Both.
One of the major things I believe that a man can do for his children and their friends is to display the message by your behavior. You said something earlier by how you treat the wife, how you treat their mother, even in times of disagreement, in those intense moments of fellowship.
Yes, sir.
They need to be able to see how you govern yourself in hard times. It's one thing to tell them something, but it's another thing for them to see you in action when things don't go right. My children, one thing about my dad always stays calm. My dad always stays calm. I've seen him in a lot of different things. Kenny, when it deals with ministry, they can see you in a lot of different lights with a lot of different people. A lot of things happen. And sometimes you want to say things to people that are not godly at all, but you have to pull that up. You have to pull them in, and they see how you can control yourself, which is a message in and of itself, because life is going to present themselves with things where they can't cuss everybody out. They can't fight everybody. They can't shoot everybody. So I would say that the demonstration of the message, that you give in care, in control, or the fruit of the Spirit
Yes.
definitely displays it perfectly. Displaying that is more important than you just flapping your gums.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I thought that was that's really good. And the way you treat that wife, and like you're saying, staying calm in those intense situation, because with my wife and I, the kids never see me raise my voice at her. They definitely never see me lay hands on her or anything like that, because I realized that this moment will pass, but a negative effect will have a long effect on the kids and have a negative effect on the kids. And I knew that. So I always was conscious of that. Plus, I had the Holy Spirit to guide and teach and lead me into how to talk in a certain situation, how to conduct myself in a certain situation. So it's have to be the Holy Spirit. When did you begin to overcome those negative psychological things that happened to you by not being raised by your father?
I had to expose myself to greater. I had to expose myself to better.
Yeah.
And I had to make up my mind that I have a choice to make in life. I can either become the negative things that I saw, or I can make a decision to become greater and to become better. Now that's a fight now.
Yeah.
That is a fight, because sometimes you don't want to be better, greater, because it's easier. You know, any dead fish can flow downstream. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's the live ones that know the necessity of swimming against the current, because you're doing one of two things in life. You are either repairing or you are preparing.
Yes, sir.
And so it's vitally important that you make up your mind that I am not going to be what I saw. You have two individuals raised by their father. One son was raised by the father. The father was a drunk, very violent, very abusive. Same house, another son is raised under the same turbulent situation.
Yes.
One son decides, I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to abuse my mom. I'm not going to abuse my wife. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to be abusive. The other son chooses to say, I have no choice. This is the way I was raised.
Yeah.
I can't help myself. Two gentlemen in the same situation, mindset.
Right.
So to answer your question, it's with the mind that we serve the Lord. Okay. Right. So that's why Paul says you have to be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Be not conformed to this world system, but be changed and transformed by the renewing, the recalibrating of your thinking. And that's what's going to be viable in this situation. You got to change your mindset.
Well, the role of dual parents in the household plays a lot of, has a lot to do to affecting the mother nurturing that love, the emotion, the cuddling, all of those things help. I think it's have a real negative effect on a child because he need both of them love. I'm just happen to be watching a series now called The Crown. And it shows Queen Elizabeth, and it really showing the negative effect. Their father was there a lot of time, but Queen Elizabeth wasn't there because she was married to the crown, more or less. She was mother of the nation and didn't show a lot of emotion toward Charles, now King Charles, but and it affected, and I saw how it affected him interacting with other children, interacting with people that wasn't the crown. And I watched a series last night where he went to the school, the people didn't like him. He went to Wales to learn how to speak their language, and they're under the UK. And he told the instructor, he said, instructor said, you're not mixing and mingling with the kids or making any friends. He said, I'm used to eating alone. And man, the way he said that is really did something to me. It really affected me how someone, so I'm saying money is not everything in a relationship. You have to have that love and show those emotions. So if you could speak on that some, and then I'm gonna let you close out and just with 2 or 3 minutes of whatever you would like to leave us with.
Sure. I mean, that is so true. That money is not the answer. Sometimes that can be the worst thing for you because you can finance depression. Okay? And how you do that is by saying, I'll give you things, but I don't have to give you me.
Right.
Okay. And need more of you than they need the things, because the things can't hold, the things can't caress, the things can't love, the things can't be there for them where they really need it. Inanimate objects were not designed to heal the hole in your soul. So it's vitally important that that dad understands that finance is important, but you loving them and you supporting them is so much more important. And you saying that you love them. They need to hear, I love you every chance they get, you know, because that's what so many young people are just looking for now.
Yeah.
Look for love in all wrong places. But they're looking for a man, especially the dad or dad figure, to say, you know what, I'm proud of you and I love you.
Right.
That goes, so that heals, heals and that restores that individual, that son or that daughter.
Yeah, and I saw it in last night. I saw this a scene where Charles had made a speech, and he was looking for approval. He was looking for, and that's one thing we hadn't talked about tonight, and our time is over with now. But looking for that approval, the affirmation, and that's vital. And if you'll say something about that, and we'll have to end the broadcast. Our time is about up. But if you just want to make a few comments about that, and we'll be good.
Approval and affirmation for a child, for son is, I can't express the value of it, because if you don't give them the approval and the value they need, they'll start going for it and getting it out of the wrong places, distorted perspectives. So it's vitally important that you tell them how important they are, whether they are your biological children or they are your children from your marriage now. Let them know that you love them, you appreciate them, and you are proud of them. Affirm their change.
Pastor Taylor, I thank God for you. I thank God for your life and your family. I thank you for agreeing to be a part of this broadcast. It's called life. And truly, you have experienced it. A lot of different challenges in your life, and you have overcome. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
It's called life. This is the last broadcast of this year, 2022. But again, we're looking forward to 2023. It's going to change the format. It's going to be more exciting, and I'm definitely looking forward to you. So tune in, listen on our announcements, broadcast. And you'll see when the next episode will be coming, and we're gonna come back bold, stronger, and different. And it's gonna be really exciting and engaging. So God bless you. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Hey, as I always say, love and kindness is always in season. And if it get any better for me, I'm gonna clone myself. Good night. See you 2023.